Everybody loves food. It's only a human's main source of nourishment and energy, so it's no wonder the stuff has gotten pretty popular over the years. However, it's almost like the movie industry is aware of our dependence on food and uses that fact to subconsciously make us like their films more. There's some deep-rooted psychology behind the involvement of food in the movies, and we're about to dive into it. According to a bevy of different analytical studies, movies habitually perform significantly better when there's food or eating involved. People just like seeing food, I guess. Even if it's completely out of the ordinary or not at all what we're used to consuming ourselves, people just enjoy the notion of their favorite on-screen characters doing something as human and relatable as eating. That's sort of what Brad Pitt has built his entire career on. Okay, sure, he's also a super talented actor with movie star good looks, but have you ever noticed that he's always eating? Seriously, the guy is munching down on something in every single movie he's in. It's statistically proven that Brad Pitt eating something equals box office success. I suppose it's because it humanizes him. It shows this massive star doing something we all do, and it's a pretty vulnerable thing to do as well. Eating isn't a stylish or cool look. Nobody really looks good doing it. Shoveling food down your gullet is rarely a pretty sight, so it's refreshing to see someone like Brad Pitt racing through a plate of French fries or taking down a cheeseburger. It's actually a pretty gross activity to watch, but a very human one at that, so having a character eat is a surefire way to show how normal and relatable they are. Then there's the less realistic food-related tropes. Take those big, grandiose breakfast spreads into consideration. You've seen them in countless movies where someone definitely woke up at like 3 a.m. to start cooking an enormous selection of eggs, toast, meats, pancakes, waffles, freshly squeezed orange juice, coffee, and everything you could possibly want first thing in the morning. Nobody actually does that. Do you understand the amount of effort that a meal like that requires? Regular people just pour themselves a bowl of cereal or make a smoothie. And there's always that one character who's in a rush and doesn't actually eat any of the prepared items. They'll rush in and grab one bite of toast and a big gulp of orange juice before racing off to school or work. Can you imagine how upsetting that is? To wake up early and slave over a hot stove for hours, only to have one punk completely overlook your efforts as they just rush out the door? Speaking of big breakfasts, how the heck did the characters in Friends meet for breakfast every morning? They all live in New York City, so we're supposed to believe that not only did Monica get up early before work to cook breakfast for everyone, but Ross and Phoebe actually commuted over to her apartment just to eat? That makes absolutely zero sense. Imagine going over to your friend's house to eat breakfast before work. You'd have to get there at like 6 a.m. And it makes even less sense for a character like Joey, who rarely had a job to go to because he was a freelance actor, so he was just waking up at the crack of dawn to eat and probably go back to sleep. I won't even get started on the coffee shop and how their seats are always reserved for some inexplicable reason. Another trope that really blows me away is when someone sits down at a bar and orders a drink by saying something like, "Give me a beer," or "Give me a shot of tequila." If you've ever tried that in real life, you'd know that a bartender will 100% ask you what type of beer you'd like or what type of tequila. Trust me, I've been testing this theory out for years now. I always try to just order a beer, and never once has the person just gone and poured one. There are like thousands of different beers. It's like going into a restaurant and saying, "Yeah, I'll have some meat," and then the server having no questions and just going and getting you a plate of food? That's not how ordering works. You need to specify what you want. These people aren't mind readers, unless you've been somewhere enough times where you could just walk in and order the usual. That's a pretty cool move. Not to toot my own horn, but I have that at the falafel place around the corner. While we're off the topic of food for a moment, but it's still in the realm of consumption, what's with people just tossing a bunch of pills into their mouths and chewing them like candy? We've all seen this countless times in television and film, where someone just pops a bunch of uncounted pills and lets their molars do the rest of the work. That's insane. Does anybody actually do this? It just seems like the most irresponsible and unhealthy way to take medication. Also, don't pills usually taste like garbage and that's why we swallow them quickly and usually wash them down with water or something? I've never in my life seen anybody chew a pill that wasn't a vitamin C tablet or a Flintstones vitamin. Yet time and time again we see this on the big screen, as if movies just make up their own rules. Movies also tend to show people using food as ice packs all the time. Someone sprains an ankle or gets a black eye, and right away they're either using a bag of frozen peas, or even worse, a full steak to ice it. That is so gross. Using frozen animal flesh to press up against your skin for an extended period of time is a disgusting and terrifying notion when you really think about it. When I was a kid, a friend of mine got in big trouble because he fell off of his skateboard and went home to ice his wounds with a bag of frozen vegetables. Only when his mom got home and saw that he had defrosted their entire dinner and used it on his scraped knee, she was not happy at all. It just goes to show that movies really influence our day-to-day habits, especially when it comes to food. There's been countless times where a movie or TV show has actually affected the outside world as a whole and caused a product to increase in popularity. The most recent example that comes to mind is in 2017's season of Rick and Morty. The first episode of the third season had a surprise airing with no announcement prior to the premiere. It starts with a dream sequence in which Rick goes to a McDonald's to taste the Szechuan sauce for one last time. He continues to bring up his want for more Szechuan sauce, which caused a snowball effect online as fans of the show got behind the fictional character's demands. Fans everywhere began demanding that McDonald's actually bring back this classic sauce, which was available for a limited time during the 1990s. The movement got to be so popular that in China they called it, quote, internet famous dipping sauce. Perhaps the most iconic example in recent years of a movie upping the social value of a food is Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Prior to that film, White Castle was an afterthought in the fast food restaurant game. The movie was about two deadbeat friends on a quest to quench their craving for the perfect late-night snack, a White Castle meal. With only 240 locations compared to over 32,000 for McDonald's, the small burger joint blew up following the release of this comedic cult classic. Since then, they've expanded to include a frozen line of its popular square mini burgers in stores nationwide, and they've become much more of a household name. In fact, rumor has it that Krispy Kreme was originally approached first to be the destination for the movie, but they declined. They're probably kicking themselves over that one, because the film did wonders for promoting and marketing White Castle, and the food franchise reportedly didn't even pay a dime to be involved. All they had to do was give their consent. There's also the reverse effect. I don't think anyone got a craving for McDonald's after watching 2004's documentary Super Size Me, in which Morgan Spurlock attempts to consume nothing but items off of the fast food restaurant's menu for an entire month. That was a rare case of a movie negatively affecting a type of food. However, I should probably use a different word than negatively, because convincing people to not eat McDonald's is kind of a good thing. Movies have a tendency to affect people's spending habits when it comes to what they put in their mouths. Did you know that sales in Reese's Pieces went up 65% after E.T. was released? Or that spinach consumption increased by 33% in the US after the release of Popeye the Sailor Man? And that it literally saved the entire spinach industry in the 1930s? That's wild. Plus, spinach is good. I had some today, high in zinc. I couldn't find any data, but I wonder if sales in Cheerios went up after Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or if consumption of mashed potatoes went up after Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I mean, who hasn't built a mountain out of their mashed potatoes? That's half the fun of eating that item. Do you think pasta became more popular after Lady and the Tramp? Or raw eggs following the release of Rocky? Yeah, probably not on that one. There's also full businesses that stem from movies. Take Bubba Gump Shrimp, for example. It's a popular restaurant chain with 45 locations, but it would never have existed if it weren't first a fictional concept in the movie Forrest Gump. Forrest and Bubba had plans to open said seafood eatery before tragedy struck. I won't get into the details, but Let's just say war is bad. As a result of the movie's popularity, the restaurant became a real thing that thrives to this day, 25 years after the movie's release. What's your favorite food movie moment? And do you have a favorite fictional food item? Is it the Krabby Patty, a Big Kahuna burger, or a Good Burger? And why did the Ninja Turtles always eat such delicious-looking pizza? And how did they even get their pizzas delivered? Were they just like, yeah, just deliver it to the sewer. A giant rat will pick it up. Leave your comments in the section down below. Before you go, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe by hitting that little bell icon so you'll be notified of our next release. Until next time, bye!